let's go ahead and I want to talk to you guys first about your assignment for yesterday, and then I also want to be clear about the remind message that I sent out last night. I told you guys about the Google Forms in general. When you're only off by a couple points, I'm not resetting it because in the end, if you're a couple points away from the higher grade, one, I'm either going to bump you up, or two, if you have enough of them that have piled up over the year or over the semester, I'm going to tell you, hey, I think you can earn a higher grade. Go back and redo these 3 forms. I've already reset them for you. You know, so in the end, like, what you guys don't understand is, at the end of the semester, when you guys are doing final review, I'm hand calculating to see whether or not, if you do a handful of other things, if you could get to the higher grade before you even take the final. You know, so I do look at that, and I look at you guys individually during that time. And so if there is a situation where you've done a handful of those, you know, Google Forms, and you got like a 4 out of 6 or a 3 out of 6 on something, and that's going to matter in your grade, you know, and I think that you should just do it because it's, you know, for the good of the order, just do it. Then I'll tell you to redo them at that point. But I'm not going to reset them every single night. Like, I got remind messages when I was in my class last night to reset forms because it was like a 5 out of 6.
5 out of 6, it looks bad.
I understand a 5 out of 6 kind of looks bad. But what I'm also saying too is, like, double check your answers. You know, check with your friends and see if they're all getting the same answer before you hit submit. Because really what I want to spend my evening doing is answering those questions of people that don't know what they're doing. You know, like, hey, I tried this and I don't know what's going on. You know, I would much rather answer those questions than to spend my entire night attempting to reset Google Forms and then not get to the people that have questions about stuff. You know, so because moving forward, you're going to start to have more questions and want to utilize Remind in that way in the evening, and I would much rather answer your questions in the evening that way than to spend my entire evening going into the Google form, searching for your email address, and then hitting delete. Okay, so in the end, I would much rather you guys, you know, do what you can to submit it to try to get your full credit and not freak out about it. You do have a Google form for this one tonight. You also do have your grade scope also. But the one thing that I wanted to make sure is, first of all, you can resubmit your grade scope as long as I haven't graded it yet. So if you already submitted your grade scope, and I'm going to talk about a couple of things here, but if you submitted it wrong, you can unsubmit your grade scope, re-upload pictures, and then put it back. I think it's under like the 3 dots or something like that. There's somewhere there that I know that you can do it. Yeah, exactly.
So both the Google form and the grade scope assignment.
Correct, yes. And one is typically easier than the other. I would say that I think that the Google form is a little bit easier, but if it does give you anxiety to not know if you're having the right answer, then start the Google form class. You know, trying to think what else. But yeah, so both of them are due. In this grade scope here, this was your last night's grade scope, and I walked around yesterday, and I know that I try to correct most of you guys, but just so that we're clear, because I don't want you guys missing stuff. When you're in, you have no product rule yet, so make sure that you multiply that out first before you take the derivative. Make sure you distribute your x squared before you take the derivative. Make sure you divide everybody by 3 and then take the derivative. And then here, make sure you divide everybody by x squared and then take the derivative. And those were the common areas that I saw people making mistakes yesterday. And so if I didn't catch your mistake, I wanted to make sure that I caught it now. Okay. Because the idea is that you're going to, my hope is that you'll ask enough questions that, and you're going to compare answers with each other, that you're getting full credit for your assignments. Okay. gotcha type of thing. Okay, so your 2-3 for today. Ready for some trigs and logs?
No.
It's not that bad.
Is it?
I won't tell you what's bad. That'll probably be like that.
Oh.
Chain rule's bad. Not that it's bad, but you're just really not gonna like it.
I have a request. When you post to your YouTube the video of the lesson, don't make it be the BC classes video. That video was 40 minutes for a 10-minute lesson.
Right? Okay, so I did it yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm recording this one, but I'm like, why is it, I think I even said it, why is it that you have to, like, clap or, let's go, after every single problem I do? A 10-minute lesson literally took 45 minutes in that class series because they can't stop talking in between everything. I'm like,
We walk the energy.
Yeah.
We walk the energy.
so I'm like, holy cow. It's back like when I was like streaming on Twitch where like a 10-minute lesson took an hour and a half because everybody's like commenting in the chat. But yeah, so yeah, I crazy yesterday. Like for the amount of like time I'm like, which is probably very annoying if you're watching that lesson.
Gotta figure out how to do it.
I know, like double time, like you know. I have had people put me on double time. Okay. You guys did your derivatives for sine and cosine already. You just didn't know it. So remember when we did this guy in class?
Yes.
This was equal to cosine. So the derivative of sine is cosine. This notation here, the d over dx means to take the derivative of whatever's on the inside. So d over dx means whatever's on the inside of that parentheses, take the derivative of it. Cosine you should have done on your own. And you should have gotten negative sine of that. Tangent is secant squared. Cosecant is negative cosecant cotangent. Secant is secant tangent. And cotangent is negative cosecant squared. Do you have to memorize them? Yes. Do you get a formula sheet? Never, because we're math people and we're not science people. I don't know why they do that to the math. But they never get a formula sheet in math. Oh, I know. So bad. Huh? It could be.
So memorize it by Friday. And have it by like the test.
Like, I don't remember. I wrote the quiz a long time ago. I haven't looked at it again yet. But no, it could be. Hey, at least I'm honest. There's that. Alright. So I don't memorize very well. Part of the reason why I waited cancel when I was in high school. Don't memorize very well. If I was going to memorize any of them, by the time we hit Thursday, I can show you how to derive the other three. Well, I can show you how to derive all of them but sine and cosine. With something else that's faster than the definition. So in theory, if you didn't want to memorize any of them, you could, if you had infinitely amount of time, you could derive all of these, because you can derive the first two with a limit definition, which takes forever. But tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent after Thursday, which on Thursday I'll probably show you guys how you can derive all of them. I'll do at least one of them, if not two of them. But you can derive the rest of them. Most commonly used ones are sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay. As far as the trig ones are concerned. This would be a good time if you were going to think about making flashcards. Start now. Don't wait to the end of the unit when we've done 2-15. That's dumb. Because then you're like, oh my god, it's gonna take me forever to make flashcards. Make them now when there's like 6 of them or 8 of them that you have to make so far. It's a good time to make them. Bad time to make them when we're all the way in 2-15 because now you have 15 lessons that you couldn't make flashcards for. Okay. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna do a flashcard thing or a Quizlet thing, do it now because then you can do it in very small chunks versus doing it in bigger chunks. Okay. You have log derivatives. So a to the x. A is some number.
Really?
It will be. So it's like if I had like 2 to the x, for example. So the derivative of a to the x is a to the x ln of a. E is special. Its derivative is itself. So the derivative of e to the x is e to the x.
You think that should be a She knows this. Right?
If you know the a to the x derivative, right? E is some number. So to get e to the x's derivative as e to the x, you would use this formula. E to the x ln of e. The ln of e is 1, so its derivative is itself. Yep. So the derivative of ln is 1 over x. Do not write capital I. There are people in calc who write ln with a capital I. I know that some of you are like, what is she talking about? No, like seriously. Like I've seen it. So I'm just telling you, it's not an I, it's an L. Like it's in.
So you're gonna be mad if I just do a line with an N?
No, I'm just saying, I've actually seen people like, I.
They do
Like,
the
yeah, oh yeah. No, like you cannot make it out of calculus without realizing that that's not a capital I. I need to tell you that, like now. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, who the hell was your calculus teacher? And how the hell did you pass the AP test?
I don't think you can.
And really, when we taught you logarithms and advanced math, we should have told you then. But I feel like something happened because I've seen it on homework in Unit 0. So I'm just saying, I'm not judging. I'm not judging right now. I will judge later.
Right now.
If you continue to do it after today, I will judge you later. Okay, and then here's the derivative that nobody ever remembers.
What?
The derivative of log base b of x is 1 over x ln of b. Which, with the same theory, if you know the logarithm 1 makes sense why the ln is equal to 1 over x.
D over d of x, that's not like a formula.
No, it just means take the derivative. It's just notation for take the derivative of whatever's on the inside.
Because yesterday I was trying to get help on the assignment, so stuff up online. They kept doing that. Like, I don't know how to do this equation.
Yeah, so
I didn't want to give you quotient things, and I'm like, I can't do that.
so that's the thing, is that when you look at math textbooks, they introduce things in advance before they've actually taught everything that they needed to teach. But this notation is you have explicit formulas. Explicit formulas are when you can isolate y by itself. So y equals blah, 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 blah. Implicit formulas are where you have x's and y's all mixed together, but you can't actually make y by itself, meaning y to the first power and a coefficient of 1. In those cases, you have an implicit situation, and And so you use notation like d over dx, dy over dx. That's implicit, which we will talk about at the end of this unit. We'll talk about the difference between an explicit derivative and an implicit derivative. But yeah, that's why when you like look, like even photo math will sometimes do that. You're like, I have no idea. But. All right, we have 3 examples. Yay! We're gonna take a derivative, and all you need really is that chart. Did it change the flyover time? It used to be like at 10 something. Yeah.
We like the weather.
I like the weather too. It's so nice. It's supposed to be a really cold winter though, according to the Farmer's Almanac. It's supposed to be a really cold winter.
Yeah. Snow, ice.
I know, right? Okay. The derivative of sine is cosine of x. The derivative of cotangent is negative cosecant squared of x. I know I messed with you guys. So y prime is just cosine of x plus cosecant squared of x. Life isn't too bad with these. Monday, I have to tell you, is bad. No, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Oh, we got another.
Tuesday.
I think it's Tuesday.
Oh, man, I was
I
worried.
know.
It is Tuesday.
Well, yeah, that's good. Extra.
Okay. Questions about this game? Yeah, because I think I threw in a random section before the bad section. Okay. Derivative of e to the x is
E of X.
e of x. So the derivative of 5e to the x is 5e to the x. Don't do power rule. Don't do power rule. Ever. It's like all of a sudden like you do these and then I put something that has power rule in it and then something that doesn't have power rule in it and then you use power rule the wrong time. Power rule is only when the base is x, not x in the exponent. Okay. So you want to see how College Board is terrible?
Yeah.
Okay. And really what you have to do is, I say that it's terrible because there's a lot of tricks that can happen. And so the more I can show you guys what can happen to you, the better equipped you are to solving the questions when it comes to the AP test. So when I look at this is of the form a to the x where the derivative is a to the x ln of a. Okay. So what College Board will do is, you know what the derivative is in theory if you use the little chart. It's a to the x ln of 1/3. And you're like, yay, I got the answer back. On your multiple choice test, that's not the answer, more likely that's going to be there. Because I can simplify this. In theory, I can turn my ln of 1/3 into the ln of 1 minus ln of 3.
Why is that simpler than
Which makes the ln of 1 0. So y prime is 1/3 to the x negative ln of 3. That still will not be the answer that will be on your multiple choice test. They will move the negative sign to the front.
at that point I will be guessing and say, well, that was close enough.
And that's the problem. Because what College Board does, you ready for them to be messing with you?
Yeah.
They get you to try to second guess what you had memorized. So what one of the choices would have been is they would have put an x as the exponent here, next to the ln of the 1/3. And then it would have made you second guess. Is the x supposed to stay there when I do the ln, or is it not supposed to stay there? And then because you're trying to guess your way to the right answer, you might pick this first one versus the right one that's below. So just be careful when you guys do a multiple choice test. In my opinion, when you do a multiple choice test, I would never look at the solutions. I would solve it the way that I thought I was supposed to solve it. I would not change my answer unless I was 100% sure I was wrong. Don't let the answer choices there deter you to changing your mind about what you originally thought. Take what you originally thought and try to make it into something else. Simplify it more. Yes. Oh, that one is always 0. Because e to the first, e to the 0 power 1.
Okay.
Questions that you guys have? So you have time to work on either your Google form or on your grade scope. You guys have the rest of the class grade work.